whole month, we've been exploring the idea of turning points. And that leads us, and I'm going to just, repeat this very briefly, to different tipping points. And a tipping point, as many of you know, is when a combination of the critical mass is reached, and it's a shift in consciousness. When you get to a certain amount of people's consciousness, of their belief system, it tips it into a whole new way of showing up in life, and life changes. And I do believe that we are in the middle of a tipping point right now. I really feel that, and I know that a lot of you feel that too. So a turning point, though, is a moment of decision. The moment we individually or collectively decide to make a shift, to make a different decision from what we're used to head in a different direction, to view things in another way than maybe we formerly have viewed them. And that decision results in radically different effects. The outcome is different. Or said in another way, we reach different results in the tipping point. So this month has been inspired by Pam Grout's latest book, E-Cubed. We are going to be doing a class with Carol Mayo, our practitioner, and Dana Smith on E-Squared. And another book by Mike Dooley, Infinite Possibilities. That's going to be really great. So her books are very, very informative and are filled with exercises that we did one last week, and we're going to do one this week for the coming week. So this E-Cube speaks to the power of our basic fundamental new thought beliefs. So today we pick up where we left off last week. So we continue the work of experiencing the turning points, which then create, as I said, the tipping points in the direction of who we came here to be. Because each and every one of us really came here for a purpose. We're not here randomly. I don't think that God creates randomly. I think there's a specific purpose, and it doesn't have to be some major, huge, what we have judged huge thing. It could be the smallest, what we consider small. It's an act of kindness, which we might consider small, is huge. It can change people's lives. So let's not judge it in ways of large and small, but we all came here with a specific purpose. So before we continue the work from last week, I want to share with you a great turning point story, and it's one that I kind of like, and I've done it here before, so you might have heard the little story before. There was this 92-year-old man who went to the doctor to get a physical. The man did not look good. He was thin and pale and fragile. His signs weren't good. So the doctor gave this gentleman some words of sound medical advice. And a few months later, the doctor ran into the man on the street, and he was a changed man. He had gained weight, his color had come back, and his cheeks were a nice rosy color. He looked strong and healthy. And to top it off, he had a gorgeous woman on his arm. The doctor stopped to marvel at his improvement. And he said, "I can't believe it. You look terrific. What happened to you?" The man replied, "What do you think happened to me? I did what you told me to do. I'm just doing what you told me." And the doctor said, "Well, yeah, but let me go back. I'm doing what you told me to do. To get a hot mama and be cheerful." The doctor said, that was an important part, the doctor said, "You old fool, I didn't say get a hot mama and be cheerful. I said you have a heart murmur and be careful." So, our friend headed toward a point, see, it goes in with this, a point that may have tipped him over to the other side. He misconstrued, he heard differently, but because he heard that and had that belief in that doctor, he followed the doctor's, what he thought were the doctor's orders. And it shifted the whole outcome of his life.
Yes, it would.
Now, that does speak volumes to the power of our beliefs, what we truly believe in, and the realities that we create through our beliefs. So today we're actually going to experiment with that exact thing. But first we have to see where we've been and what happened this week, because those of you who were here last week had a handout. You have one this week, but you had a handout of if you wanted to participate in our experiment or not. And we're basing this month, this year actually, on 5 what we call turning points. You know, it's turning from one belief, which I'm not going to go into the old belief, but I'm just going to go over the 5 new beliefs that we can hold in our minds. But these are fundamental science of mind principles that the majority of world doesn't even know. This is the it's always amazing to me, but it, you know, a lot of people are not into our spirituality and the teachings, and they're so empowering. They're so uplifting. They're so life-changing. They truly are. So let's go over what we talked about, the turning points last week. So the turning point view number 1 was, instead of the old God of fear and judgment, it's God is an energy of love and creation that flows through all, surrounds all, is all, which includes me, every one of you. Turning point view number 2, the universe has my back and is constantly conspiring for my good. Turning point number 3, I create my world with my thoughts, beliefs, and energetic frequencies. Turning point view number 4, once I surrender to the universal flow of life with a capital L, it will take over and handle the details. And I gave you examples of that. It takes over once we let go of I know how to do it, and just say, you know what, let me take a breath, because the universe is so much smarter than I am. God is so smart. Let me just let go and let the divine take over the details. I know what I want. We all know what we want, I think. But then we try to make it happen. And most of the time, when we step back, take a breath, and let the universal energy, which is always present, take over, the outcome is so much better. The turning point view number 5, I am inherently worthy simply because of who I am. Each and every one of us are a child of the divine. So I want to use this, I just threw this in because I liked it. It's an acronym that I'd like us to remember, and I want us to remember it, so I'm going to put it in the bulletin, not the bulletin, the newsletter that we send out on Thursday or Friday. So it's the word dream. So D in dream, deserving of your dreams. R, reach for the stars. E, expect the best for yourselves. A, align with source. And M, manifest your heart's desire. Like that. Yeah. So now to our experiments, because we're all scientists in this today. I love this idea from author Amit Galantri, and this is from E Cubed. I hope I'm saying his name right, but that's the way it's spelled there. He said this: theories might inspire you, but experiments will advance you. Yeah. And Ernest Holmes was very clear in saying, don't believe what I tell you. Go out and prove it for yourself. Try it and see what happens. You've been doing it one way so far. How has that been working for you? If you like it, then keep doing it that way. But I know a lot of us would like to see things and experience life in a different manner, so it's a different way of doing it. So last week you did 2 experiments to advance you in embodying and living these turning points views. So the first experiment, real quick, the first one was to awaken each day before putting your feet on the floor and saying, something amazingly awesome happens to me today. We suggested that you print that out, write it on a card somewhere right by your night table or whatever you see first in the morning, next to your clock or whatever it is, and stop that. We talked about the rhino charging, the rhino thoughts from charging into our lives. You stop it right there with that affirmation. And the second part of the experiment was no matter what happens, say That's amazing, thank you, universe. And we talked about that could be things that we don't like, things that come up. It's just retraining our thought process. Try it out. Did anyone try any of these?
Yes.
Oh, let's hear from two people then. Go ahead, Dana.
Well, I was saying this every day. Something is amazing that happened to me today. So I was working at a short sale, and we have a closing date, which is the 27th. And then come to find out if there's a lien, a second lien. And usually when it's a second lien, they want at least $6,000. Such short notice, they thought nothing was going to be able to be done. So anyway, the second lien gave us an approval letter that they waiving the $47,000 that they owed.
Thank you. Dana is in real estate. But it doesn't always have to be like a positive. It could be something that you really didn't want to happen. Go ahead, Sue.
I did it, and I got a little further instruction because I listened to the video. I wasn't here, and then someone who was here gave me the sheet and added that in addition to saying something amazing is going to happen to me today, you say 3 things you're grateful for before you get up. So I did that, and I had nice experiences every day, like Dana, like amazing things. Then I had not so good news, and I said, oh, before you say, oh,
Yeah.
say this amazing universe, thank you, universe. So I did, and those things shifted, like within a couple hours. It was interesting. It was like
Thank
bad news, and then a change in it.
Thank you. That's what we want to hear because we can shift. We don't know why a lot of things take place in our lives, and they look like the worst possible scenario for us. But instead, as Sue did, instead of going to that, oh my God, ain't it awful? This is horrible. Just, this is amazing. Thank you, universe. Even if you don't believe it at first, just keep saying it. Just keep saying it. And the second, thank you for that. The second experiment was to prove how powerful our thoughts are. And they would we have on the sheet 8 things to look for. Because we see many things in life, and we don't really know, we don't pay attention to them. So we were looking for a belly laugh. Anyone have the belly laugh? Okay, we had a couple there. A toy from your childhood. Did anyone? Oh yeah. Okay, good.
The room's filled with them.
Your favorite high school song. Oh, wow, you're going 8 for 8 over there. How about this one? The number 222. I didn't see this. Oh wow!
Yeah, that was a lot.
A couple of people. I saw 2 too, but I didn't see that third 2. A beach ball. I saw that too in a magazine from a vision board workshop. A senior citizen in a fashionable hat. And if you were on Facebook, you saw me, although I wasn't that was a big one. I wasn't a senior citizen there.
Thank you.
A smile from a baby. I saw that too. A billboard with a message on it for you. Wow. Some people really got them all.
Deep.
All right, so that was our first, and the whole point of that is to let us know through our awareness that we are creating what we're noticing, what we're seeing, we're actually creating it. We are. Now let's move through to our third experiment, which we will be working on turning our view of, our turning point view, that we are worthy, which is probably one of the biggest root core causes of our belief system that does not serve us. And we have a lot of absolutes when we talk about that. A lot of absolutes. This is absolutely the truth. This is the way it is. It's absolutely the truth. But I'm not talking about the capital A, which defines God, which defines divinity. Because God, the one absolute self-existent cause, or as Holmes defines absolute, we're not talking about this, because that is, always changes. He writes this in Science of Mind: that which nothing can limit, that which forever transcends any conceivable limitation or determination. Unconditional perfection, often used as a synonym for God. That's not the absolute we're talking about. And we're not talking about the absolute that you drink either, for those of you whose mind went there. But rather, what we're talking about is the lower case. When we put something in the higher case, that first letter of a quality, we're defining the higher power, we're defining divinity. But in the smaller, we're defining ourselves. So things that we believe in, because we believe in things without questioning them. They're absolutely the truth. So this is an experiment for this coming week. And this is in your bulletin, so you don't have to look at it now. You can take it home and work on it in the coming week. This is all information for us. And keep what you like. You don't have to just do it for the 3 days that it requires. Like the one waking up in the morning, I think that's something I'm keeping that forever. So we're going to narrow it down to the beliefs about ourselves. Because it is one thing for us to say in our power position, that we do our affirmations in, that we are worthy and valuable and amazing and beautiful. It's one thing to say all those things, but sometimes we need to prove it to ourselves. That this experiment will do this. It will do this, so it's worth a shot. For example, you may think it is absolute that you are not photogenic, or that you are too old, or full of, or not good enough to get a great job. You may think you are absolutely don't make enough money, or you could never leave your loveless relationship. Absolutely can't do this. Absolutely can't do this. I mean, some of us, I know I have. Anyone else? It's like, yeah, right? For example, you may think it is absolute that you are not. Well, we went through that. Here's an interesting thing. This is an interesting thing. In the quantum world, in the field of infinite possibilities, no reality is truer than the other. It is all neutral. It is all equal. There is no absolute. There's no such thing as that smaller case absolute. But we all have stories. Like the trees don't have stories. They're absolute. They're growing, they're beautiful, they're strong, they're going to drop leaves or not if they're deciduous, and they're going to bloom again in the spring and the summer. So we tell ourselves these stories, though, over and over and over again, and they become this belief within us, and they become our absolutes. Oh, this always happens to me. It's absolutely true. You can't tell me anything different. This is the way it goes. It's absolutely. And we get locked into beliefs that really, and behaviors, that don't serve us. Albert Villoldo, a Cuban-born psychologist, and Sherman said, when we drop our dreary story, we are provided for in every way. It's a shift. It's a shift. It's a small shift that turns into a large different effect in our lives, because we're going to cause. We're changing the cause. These stories are much more true about you that you make up about yourselves, ourselves, than their opposites. There is a whole palette. There is a whole palette of other possibilities. And some of the stories that we have serve us. And that's wonderful, but many may not. So I'm inviting us, I'm already working on mine, I'm inviting us to change the stories that don't, just one of them, that doesn't serve. So before getting into experiment 3, I want to share with you a story that Pam Grout wrote in EQ'd in the book. And it's about a woman choosing, this is a true story, choosing not to believe the absolute which she was told. I found this a really powerful, touching story. But she listened to her inner voice, which was telling her there was a different possibility. You know, you got all the experts around you telling you this is absolutely the way it's going, especially in the health field. I mean, this is absolutely the diagnosis. Well, this is what Michelle did. At 25, Michelle Longo O'Donnell was an RN, working at one of the first pediatric intensive care units in the nation. She was married to a Vietnam Marine vet and had a 2-year-old daughter and was pregnant with her second child. Because she had a withered left kidney that was taken out when she was younger, doctors thought that her right kidney would be overloaded with this pregnancy and decided to induce birth by giving her a drug to begin labor. A mistake in the calculation of her due date caused her daughter, Lara, to be born at 7 months, weighing a mere 2.5 pounds. The doctors whisked away this tiny little purple baby who made no movement, no sound, and just to put this in perspective, this is in the 1970s. They did not have the NICUs that they have now. Little Lara was unable to take in air or keep her lungs inflated. During the first night, she had 5 cardiac arrests. Even with 100% oxygen being pumped into her tiny lungs, she was not getting enough to supply her kidney and brain. The senior resident came in to the mother's room the next morning and asked for her permission to stop treatment because she said Lara simply could not survive this. As the nurse, Michelle knew that what the resident said was most likely true. Even if Lara did survive, there would be mental and severe mental retardation would be the outcome of the oxygen deprivation. But something inside of her kept telling her that everything would be okay, so she refused to give permission to stop treatment. The mother struggled with 2 voices inside her head. One buying into the absolute belief of the medical community, yet another deep underlying conviction in the quantum probability that everything was going to be all right. So she had both going on at the same time, as most of us do. Her husband abandoned her after 2 days. And for 2 long years after that, Lara was finally released from the ICU. Michelle O'Donnell pieced together a life, never once owning the probability of Lara's mental retardation, not letting go of the probability that healing was possible. She dealt with what she had to deal with in the world, but kept a hold of her mental constructs. She did this for 2 years, with absolutely no evidence to the outer world to suggest that the first probability, mental retardation, had not already happened. Not that the second probability, that healing was possible, was occurring, because she didn't see it. But she believed. She believed in something other than this absolute. Lara was nearly 2 years old. Michelle had her propped up on her hip and was getting ready to put a cracker into her mouth like she had done in the past, many times before. Lara, who had not shown any awareness of any kind, had basically lived like a vegetable the doctors told Michelle she would. Smiled at her mother, reached up, grabbed the cracker, and put it in her mouth. After that, she made rapid improvement and grew up to become a lawyer and eventually worked for the Attorney General of Texas.
Wow.
Her mother said, you have to keep your mind off of letting any reality become your identity. Just because someone has said it is so, if your belief is strong enough, all possibilities are there. It is in those absolutes, that there is no room for God. There is no room for limitless potentiality when we absolutely know something to be the truth, because that's the way it's always been. So in the experiment, you're going to take a reality that you have believed is absolute fact about you. And so for 3 days, and it explains it on the paper, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and you can keep on, like I've been using these all week. Actively look for the exact opposite. It doesn't matter what you choose. I've never seen, maybe it could be this, some of the absolute beliefs. I've never been that great at relationships. I sometimes suffer from depression. I have trouble sleeping. I hate to exercise. I've never been organized. I'm lousy at math. I've got a bad follow-through. I'm not good enough. I'll never make anything of myself. Those could be some of the beliefs that you're carrying around. What, in the book, she's asking you to do the exact opposite for 3 days, 72 hours, 3 days. It doesn't really matter what you pick, just something that you've repeatedly said to yourself, you know, and you're not even aware of it. And you're reminded sometimes by wonderful people that, hey, you said that a few times, and you're like, oh, wow, yeah, I did. So something that you believe about yourself, and Grout tells us this. She says to pick an identity that you've worn like a pair of old jeans. Something that now is your story, and so it feels comfortable because you believe it to be the truth, even if it's not for your highest good. So that's what we're going to do, and go to the exact opposite of that. So in this experiment, you're going to rewrite your story by looking for evidence of the opposite reality. Here's a theory that's behind this experiment. So the sheet for the experiment, as I said, is in your bulletin so you can be reminded. And then we move on to the next experiment number 4, the last one we're going to be doing. And it sets out to prove a turning point of view number 1. And view number 1 was, there really is an invisible energy force or field of infinite possibilities of love and creation that flows through all, surrounds all, is all, and is always wanting to experience itself as us. So Scripture tells us at Revelations chapter 3, verse 20, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with that person, and they will me. Are we opening up to the limitless possibilities that are available? Because the universe is always knocking at our door. Sometimes we don't turn the knob and open it. It's always there. So our 4th experiment, we are going to listen for the knocking. We're going to listen for those intuitive knocks. We talked about that in our Game of Life class that just finished on Thursday. Our intuition. Knowing it is there, and so for 3 days, we will catch a glimpse of the wonder and glory of the field of infinite possibilities in a tangible way, because this is about proving that these spiritual truths work. Like I've said before, not just a bunch of pretty words. They all sound good, they're very uplifting, but are we living and using them in life? That's the part that this experiment is about, using them. In order to get this glimpse, it only takes a slight shift in our energetic vibration. Since we're pure energy, and we're always vibrating. So, we're going to look at the difference that a slight shift can make in 2 sentences. So, the first sentence is, same words, let's eat, Grandma. Okay, you might not be able to read it, just a shift. The second one, same words, let's eat, comma, Grandma. Let's eat, Grandma. Let's eat, Grandma. It's very important, your punctuation, let me tell you. But the point of that is that comma makes a big shift. Huge shift in the way that we think, feel, and operate in life. It makes all the difference. And that little comma makes a difference in our world. So you're going to make a slight shift in your energetic vibration so you can get a bit closer to your reality, with a capital R reality. How? Simply by setting a conscious intention. Intention is so important. Every day, that's why that affirmation is so powerful to say every morning before we get out of bed. It is setting the intention for the day. In Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes writes, we reach out to infinity. And since we cannot encompass infinity, we shall always be expanding, because it's limitless. And always enlarging our capacity to know and to experience. So this experiment is about consciously expanding and enlarging our capacity to know what we know, to know what we know. That's what the classes are always about. It's not about deepening our spirituality. It's about deepening our understanding of spirituality and our place in our spiritual world. So this whole experiment is about consciously expanding and enlarging our capacity to know and experience the awe and wonder of the universe. So there you have it for this week. 1, look for and record evidence that is the opposite of something you have believed about yourself. 2, look for indisputable evidence of the awesome nature of the universe and the presence of this divine, created, loving being. And we're going to talk about that, so make sure you do this, so then we can talk about it next week. In this way, though, we will absolutely create turning points in our lives. These turning points, and I love that whole concept. Like, this is a turning point in my life, which cannot help but lead to a tipping point, tipping us into a life of greater love, greater joy, infinite well-being, connecting us to full health, wealth, and harmony. And I'd say that's worth doing and continuing this work that we are doing here and proving to ourselves that we truly are capable. As the presentation showed, the seed into the soil becomes the plant. So the thought into the law becomes your experience. I love this stuff. That's the creative process, and so it is.